Welcome to the Beer Den Podcast. Tonight we'll be drinking Two Hearted Ale by Bell's Brewery.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Beer Den. My name is Ethan Hoopy.
And I'm Michael LaRoe. Let's get into this Two Hearted Ale from Bell's Brewery.
It's an interesting one.
They were voted number one top rated beer by Zamergy magazine, which is something I've not heard of, but I think I pronounced it correctly.
I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
But this is supposed to be a really good beer. A little bit about Bell's Brewery. They are family owned up in Kalamazoo. They also have, I think, a second brewery location in Comstock, Michigan. Comstock. And they were started about 1985. Larry Bell, that's when he first started doing commercial beer.
Okay.
He worked in a bakery before that, started an interest in fermenting and yeast, which, I mean, you got to start somewhere, I guess. Why not with an interest on that? Yeah. And a couple years later, he started selling his own craft beer commercially.
That's awesome. I don't know how many people actually come from food into brewing. I wonder how if that's a common thing, because they are kind of tied to one another. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, what are your thoughts about this one?
So, start off, it's very hazy. It's a very hazy beer, which is typical with IPAs. I mean, usually have that. This has a nice copper color to it. One thing I noticed, it's extremely lacy. So it poured a nice head on it, and it sticks to the side of the glass really well. Yeah, that's
really good. Definitely has some really good aromas. I mean, it's an IPA, so you're obviously going to have that kind of hoppy smell to it. It's definitely the first thing you're going to notice about the beer is the smell. It's actually pretty strong. Mm-hmm. But I think I find it odd because it's strong, at least to me, compared to the taste. The taste of it is not nearly as hoppy as you would kind of think it would be. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you kind of felt the same way, that the smell was, really powerful, while the kind of taste almost, to me, seems almost, I feel like watery gives it kind of a bad impression, but kind of watery. I'm still going to use it.
See, I didn't get real watery to it, but aroma, first thing I got, pine. It smelled very pine, very resiny. Fresh lumber, that's the smell that hit me right away. I was walking into Menard's lumber yard, and that's all I got from it. There is a slight malt that I picked up. It was a little biscuity. Okay. And it says that it has a little malt finish to it.
I definitely get that, and I think that kind of adds to maybe the smoothness of the taste, at least to me.
It is pretty smooth. It's dry.
It's very dry.
Very dry.
Yeah, if you are not somebody who likes dry beers, you are probably not going to like this one, because you almost need a bottle of water to drink after it. It's really bad.
It's I felt it was a little aggressive on the mouthfeel there. Bitterness wise. I mean, it's an IPA, so it's gonna be more hoppy, but first taste on it was whoa, there you are, there's the hops.
It kind of has a strong upfront. Mm-hmm. To me, I think that the tail end of it, the finish on the beer is a lot smoother than most other IPAs I've had. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I actually kind of like this one a bit more. I mean, if it wasn't so dry, I think this would actually be a top contender for me as far as one of my favorite IPAs. I mean, I definitely have other beers I like more, but it's extremely dry.
The fact that you have a favorite IPA is actually surprising because you don't really like IPAs.
I don't really like IPAs. It's a very low bar that you have to beat.
There's not much carbonation to it, which is kind of nice because I feel like sometimes like too much carbonation in an IPA like almost makes it even more bitter.
Yeah.
Like it's just not a pleasing experience. A flavor, back to the aroma, it's pretty resiny.
Yeah.
You get those piney notes to it.
To me, I mean, it just reminds me of kind of a standard IPA,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I thought this one was really hoppy. I didn't think it was well balanced.
Okay.
We've tried the Zombie Dust by Three Floyds, and I thought that one was a little bit more balanced than this one.
Yeah. It has more of a hop taste, but I feel like this one had more of a hop taste up front because of the more malty and watery back end of it. I feel like it smooths out really well. I also think that as far as the finish, the aftertaste is pretty mild. I didn't feel like it was like overly hoppy for a long time. If that makes sense. Like it kind of, I don't know, went away.
Maybe because I mean, compared to a dark beer, obviously this is going to be lighter. I don't get too much of like the watery
really to it. And I don't know, maybe it's difference between the beers or something, but yeah, to me it's just it's a lot smoother than I feel like. I guess I don't want to say smoother. I think it has a more mellow finish, whereas I feel like the Zombie Dust was more consistent. Okay. If that makes more sense.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that the Zombie Dust does well is it's more of a consistent flavor throughout the drinking experience, whereas this I feel like it's a big burst of IPA hoppy like bitterness, and then at least for me, like, and obviously I think there's some difference of opinion, it kind of dissipates rather quickly. Which then just kind of leaves you with a dry mouth, which I'm not a huge fan of. But so we base everything on 3 criteria: quality, value, and design. Quality is out of 50 points, and that's everything we just went over. That's the mouthfeel, the aroma, how pleasing it looks, the overall taste. We have value, which is out of 25 points, using $9.99 for a 6-pack as a good baseline. It'll score higher if it has a price below that $9.99 and tastes really good. It'll score lower if it's above $9.99. And then design, that's the overall appearance of the bottle or can. We like to see an alcohol content, maybe a description of the beer or the brewery, how well the labels pop if you were looking at a shelf just full of beers. So with that, what was your quality score for it?
As far as quality, I gave it a 38. The reason that I gave it a 38 was because of the kind of smooth finish at the end. I surprisingly enjoyed the hoppy taste of it. I didn't hate it, I guess, is kind of the thing. The one thing that really took the point value down was the dryness of it. I was not a fan of that.
So I scored it a 33 on quality just because I didn't think it was as balanced as it could have been. It was pretty hoppy for me. Like I said, it was a little aggressive on the bitterness of it, but it was smooth. But at the same time, it was also really dry.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised how close our 2 scores are. Like, you know,
I'm surprised you had scored it higher because you don't, like I said earlier, you don't typically like IPAs.
Yeah, I'm usually not into it. And who knows, maybe you ask me tomorrow and I'm a completely different of a completely different opinion. But yeah, right now I feel like that's pretty fair for my experience tonight.
So value-wise, with it being $10.99 a 6-pack, I put it at a 14 just because I had scored it a little bit lower on the quality there.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I put it at a 16, so only 2 points higher. Yeah, I thought that it being only $1 more, I wasn't going to like fault it too much. It may be just the area, and maybe may cost less other places, more some other places. So I didn't want to fault it too much, but yeah, based on the quality, I couldn't really give it much more than that.
What did you think of the design of it?
The design, I think that this could use some work. I'm buying a beer, not a tackle box. If you look at the design of this beer, it's a fish. It's really a really dull looking image. It's just really plain with like orange lettering. It's almost outdoorsy, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of it at all. The fish especially is completely unappealing to me.
Okay.
But
what was your score for it?
My score was a 12.
Okay. Because I scored it a 25.
What?
Yeah. So
I don't know about that.
Well, because it has everything I like to see on it. So I'll break this down. It has the 2 labels, which I like. I like having a bottleneck label on it. It has the alcohol content. It even has a shelf life for it, which I actually think like gets overlooked, especially in craft beer.
Yeah, not many beers actually have that.
And so it tells you right on it where it's packaged, or when it's packaged, so you know like when that 6-month date is, so you're not just getting skunk beer.
Yeah.
It has a description of the beer, which in it even goes to its namesake of why it's Two-Hearted Ale for the Two-Hearted River in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
I guess I get that, but
so keeping that in mind,
still a fish
the fish makes sense. So I'm like, okay, that works for me. Which I get it. Like fish isn't necessarily what you want to think about when you're drinking beer. But then you even have the orange color with that like dark hunter green, and I think that's just like a good mesh of it. So overall, I think this entire package, like this works. And even the bottle cap, like it has the fish on it, so it has like a cool bottle cap. It's not just a generic bottle cap to it.
Yeah, that definitely is something that a lot of craft brews, I mean a lot of beer in general, overlook is their bottle caps. Mm-hmm. And I do have to give it credit for having like a nice bottle cap. I guess I understand with like where the name came from, and I get, okay, there's a fish on it, but I think that that's sort of where you and me kind of diverge, where like I look more for the name and the visual appearance of like the bottle and stuff to kind of at least somewhat replicate what the experience of drinking it is. And I think fish water isn't like the best image to have in your head when you go into drinking this.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think it's we each kind of value different aspects of it, and so I think our scores kind of reflect that.
And I mean, that's why we do an average.
Yep, exactly.
So with that being said, I scored that at a 72. I got most of those points, I think, from the design versus the quality or the value.
Yeah, for sure.
Ethan, you scored it at
a 66 overall.
66. So that'll give us a 69 for the Two-Hearted Ale from Bell's Brewery. All right, that's the show. Look for us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon, where we'll be posting each week.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week in the Beer Den.